Have you ever looked at a map and wondered why the borders are where they are, especially those in naturally straight lines cutting across continents like Africa or the Middle East? It's almost like someone took a ruler and just drew them, without any regard for the people living there. Well, that's pretty much exactly what happened, and the consequences. They've been catastrophic, shaping conflicts and defining identities for over a century. Let's travel back to the late 19th century, to the so-called Scramble for Africa. European powers gathered at the Berlin Conference in 1884. They weren't there to learn about Africa's diverse cultures, its ancient kingdoms, or its intricate trade routes. Nope, they were there to carve it up like a cake. Over just a few months, they drew lines on a map, creating around 50 new countries. These lines sliced through ethnic groups, lumping rival communities together and splitting homogeneous ones apart. Imagine your town being suddenly split in two, with a new border running right down Main Street, separating you from your family, your market, your entire way of life. That's the reality millions of people faced. These artificial borders became the breeding ground for future conflicts. When these colonies eventually gained independence, they inherited these illogical boundaries. Ethnic groups that had lived separately for centuries were now forced to share a single national identity. Unsurprisingly, this led to tension, power struggles, and in many tragic cases, civil wars and ethnic cleansing. The Rwandan genocide, the conflicts in Sudan, the ongoing instability in the Congo. So many of these tragedies have their roots in those lines, drawn in a conference room in Berlin, thousands of miles away. And it wasn't just Africa. A similar story unfolded in the Middle East after World War I. With the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, Britain and France secretly negotiated the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Again, they took out their rulers and drew lines in the sand, creating the modern states of Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Jordan. They paid little attention to the ancient sectarian divides between Sunni and Shia Muslims, or the aspiration of the Kurds, who were left without a state of their own. Scattered across for different countries, these decisions laid the groundwork for decades of instability. From the Iran-Iraq War to the rise of extremist groups who exploit these very divisions, the map of the modern Middle East is a direct legacy of this colonial ambition. What's really fascinating, and also deeply tragic, is how these arbitrary lines eventually became real. Over generations, people started to identify with these new nations. A new Nigerian or Iraqi identity was forged, often through shared struggle against a colonial power or a common government. But this new nationalism rarely erased the old ethnic and tribal loyalties. Instead, they were forced to coexist, often uneasily. The straight lines on the map created a permanent tension between the nation-state and the actual communities on the ground. So, the next time you see a straight border on a world map, remember it's not just a line. It's a scar left by history. It represents a story of power, ignorance, and immense, long-lasting impact that a few strokes of a pen can have on millions of lives. The world we live in today is still dealing with the aftershocks of decisions made by men who saw continents not as homes for people, but as territories to be claimed. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just in the past, it's drawn all over our present. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into how our world came to be.